Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, October 30th, 2023. The time now is 6 p.m. and I will call to order this regular meeting of the Town of Mead Board of Trustees. In accordance with the town's remote participation and remote meeting policy adopted by the Board of Trustees on March 13th, 2023 by resolution number 21-R-2023, remote participation will be allowed. The meeting link has been provided on the town's website designated posting place 24 hours prior to this meeting. And I'd like to remind everyone present both in person and virtually of the town's general guidelines for public comment at open meetings and public hearings. Copies of the guidelines are available online and on the entry table as you walk in the front door. There are 2 public comment opportunities on the agenda for you to address the board on any subject, whether it is on the agenda or not. Mary, roll call, please.
Trustee Broadhead.
Here.
Trustee Harris. Here. Trustee Parr.
Here.
Trustee Schranz.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright.
Here.
Trustee Adams.
Here.
Mayor Whitlow.
Here.
Mayor Whitlow, today is Monday, October 30th, 2023, and you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Please join me in a moment of silence in recognition of all those innocent people currently living under the threat of war. Thank you very much for your time. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next is review and approve agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Thank you. Roll call, please, Mary.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright.
Yes.
Trustee Adams.
Yes.
Trustee Broadhead.
Yes.
Trustee Schranz.
Yes.
Trustee Parr.
Yes.
Trustee Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. We have an agenda tonight. And our next agenda item is our town manager report. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. You have my report. I want to add something tonight to my report because as I was going through, I always reflect on the week. And last week I had the good fortune to go to Avon to help present for a grant for our community center. Lorelei and Erica teamed up on it. And I started just looking back over the last 2 to 3 months, and I found 7 different grant applications that our staff has submitted. They range from, the SIPA grant that Mary put in for $3,000 that we got, bulletproof vests by the police department, the Charge Ahead grant that Lorelei got last week. Then the community center for $1.5 million that we hope to get some amount. Robin and Erica put in for a bridge replacement grant in excess of $2 million. Erica put in $1.3 million for the remainder of the underpass. We got also our planning department got about $250,000 for our trails master plan. This is just a snapshot of the last 2 to 3 months. And I just want to accentuate what a phenomenal staff we have here at the town. We're punching above our weight class. We're the mouse that roared, whatever you want to say. We have 5,500 people in the town. And these leaders that you have, Mary, Erica, Jason, Lorelei, Chief, and all the people that work for them, I can't tell you how lucky we are to have these people. I'm just going to have you take a look at these because I just scrolled some notes on them, but I wanted you to see because that's not a simple feat to keep such engaged leaders. And I just wanted to give a shout out to all of them. And just know, without these grants, I mean, we're leveraging, you guys are about to pass a $9-10 million budget. It doesn't even come close to what is paid in because we are leveraging millions of dollars worth of grants. So I just wanted to say that. And with that, I'll answer any questions on my report.
Questions or comments for Helen? Tricia?
Why is Adams Avenue's left turn lane that they put in there blocked off? Why has it been blocked off for a while now?
So it was striped according to the plan, but it needs to be realigned. So they blocked it off. So they're going to go out and remove the striping and create something that is a little more user friendly. If you're lined up on Adams
Uh-huh.
Avenue.
Oh, I know.
And you want to
Trust me,
go
I know.
straight, you've got to go like take a 90-degree turn. And then, so what we're going to do
Okay.
is we're going to fix the striping. Did I say that correctly, Erica? Yeah, one day, right after they striped it, I was out because I go out, as you know,
Mhm.
like a dragnet every day. And when I saw it, I'm like, yeah. So, but it wasn't my recognizing. I'm sure they knew it before I even saw it. But that's why they're waiting to get the crew out there.
Okay.
So
All right.
it
That
will
makes
be
sense.
fixed.
Yes. Okay, perfect. And so I realized they've been doing a bunch of work at the Highway 66 and County Road 7
Mhm.
intersection. And when I saw what they were doing, I was kind of like, I thought this was going to be different, more. So I actually went and I looked at what they're planning because I hadn't ever actually gone to the website to see what the actual plan was. I'm super disappointed that they're not putting in a left turn lane going southbound. Isn't that going to kind of make it look like the intersection we were just discussing? If you've got one with a left turn lane, but then that other side is so narrow, how are cars gonna navigate a left turn lane and around and back in on that other side? Doesn't make any sense to me. Why are they not putting in a left turn lane going southbound and only northbound?
So
And I don't know if obviously this is state run, so I don't know if you even have the answer to that, but that makes no sense
well,
if you look at it.
so I can tell you this, the largest component of what they're doing is the signal that they're putting in, a massive mass arm signal that will be like what you see down on County Line Road.
Mhm.
They are reconfiguring what is available with right of way right now. We have been in a wrestling match with our friends at Mead Place for the last, 4 years, but particularly in the last 6 months. As you will recall, they did do the work that put that ditch, the open ditch underground, and that's the area that we need for the signal and also to make that right-hand turn work, the one with the Jersey barriers that has been continually a problem.
Uh-huh.
The ultimate configuration of that intersection is not going to be configured with this project
Okay.
because you would have to have receiver lanes. The problem is, on 66, the one acceleration lane dies right at about Quick Trip. So you've got to make receiver lanes and they have to go for a while. So there's not enough other improvements on that stretch of 66 to accomplish everything that we want at that intersection. Ultimately, we will have it. But right now, we can only accomplish what each part of it can give to the intersection. Does that make sense?
Okay.
It's like, have you ever seen those roads? They widen out. There's a 6-lane bridge, but they only have 4 lanes. So you see the bridge sitting there. Prospect in Fort Collins has that on East Prospect. There's a real wide bridge, but the road's only 4 lanes. It's the same thing. That we're not ready yet. At once Mead Place comes in, they have to build a roundabout on County Road 7.
Yes.
There will be much more substantial lane improvements that will ultimately happen at the intersection. But right now, we can only work with as much real estate as we have and as much receiver lanes on 66 and 7. Because it's the same problem. When Waterfront develops, they have to widen out County Road 7 on the south side of 66. So they will be widening that out. There'll be a turn lane, going eastbound, and there'll be a left turn lane going westbound. But that hasn't happened yet. So we have to work within the constraints of what we have. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I'm also worried about a bunch of high school drivers and a weird configuration at that intersection. And
Okay.
people already when somebody's waiting to make a left-hand turn going southbound
Oh, I know.
and they can't make it, people already go around them and go
Yeah,
out and
yeah.
almost accidents because these people think that everybody stopped because this person's sitting here making a left. I just fear there's going to be even more confusion if the lanes don't line up quite right.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Well,
Like with
let
young
us-
drivers, especially.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't
let
know.
us look at it. I mean, what you've identified is a big problem about if somebody's going, say, they're headed southbound and they're going eastbound and they're sitting there ready to turn
yes.
and they see a car that's going to turn, but they don't think somebody's going to come around them and go
Uh-huh.
straight. So
yes.
we'll look at it. I'll talk to Erica about it. I totally understand what you're talking
Because
about.
I mean, if they widen the northbound side and then and then they even kind of make the other side maybe a little wider to accommodate that, but not as wide. I just feel like you're going to be inviting that even more.
Yeah, but I will say when you have a stopped situation and you do have turn pockets, it's different than what you have in the situation at Adams, which is there's a stop sign, but
Yeah.
there isn't a signal. The signal allows you a little more time to adjust. The problem I have with Adams is it's if you weren't looking and it was night, you'd go right into a turn
Yes.
lane.
Yeah.
And so we'll look at it though. I appreciate that you brought it up.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments to Helen? David, do you have any questions or comments for Helen?
No, I do not. Thank you. I
Okay.
just wanted to say thanks to the staff, though. That extra part, Helen, was awesome. The staff definitely has been working very hard.
Oh, good. Duly noted. Thank you very much, David. Thank you, Helen, for bringing up all the grant stuff that's going around. Thank you, staff, for doing all that work. All right, we'll move on to our informational items for the night. First is our employee handbook, and that will be presented by our precision employment consultant, Elaine Albertine. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, Mayor and the board. It's been a minute since I've been in front of you guys, about 6 months. So I just wanted to go over some of the changes that we're going to be having in the employee handbook. And also just to start by kind of reminding you of who my team is. And we're growing. So I'll be adding another one. Amanda Lalonde will be starting with me sometime this month. But these are a glimpse of who we have on our team here at Precision. And where am I supposed to be pointing? Maybe. Here. Or it's just frozen. Thank you. And just a reminder about what we do for the town. So we do your recruiting and interviewing. That's all the way from actually recruiting active applicants, conducting those interviews. We do your employee onboarding. So that's the orientations, reviewing policies, all of that. We also involved with employee development, providing training, performance improvement. We do risk management and compliance. So this is why we're here tonight, is to update the employee handbook to be compliant with the changing laws. I'm going to get into some specifics with the Power Act and what some of the changes here in Colorado. We also revise your job descriptions, post things for you, manage all of the disability claims, your workers' comp issues, any claims that are here, we manage through the process. And then we also train your directors and town managers. So I'll talk about some HR initiatives at the end that we're going to be going into this at the end of this year and into next. We also handle, like I mentioned, workers' comp claims. We do your compensation and benefit administration, and then we manage performance. So anything that's needed throughout the year, we're making recommendations, all of that. So that's what my precision team is doing. So the reason we're here tonight is to update the handbook. So there are a few changes that we want to make. A lot of these are just because we're updating it with 2023 law changes. So what we're going to be doing is putting the employee handbook on the consent agenda next week, or I'm sorry, next meeting. But we do want to go over just a high level view of what these are. Feel free to ask questions on anything. The first one is that we're updating the harassment policy. So the POWER Act in Colorado, it's the Protecting Opportunities and Workers' Rights Act. This has come up. Came out of the blue in August 7th of 2023. And they told us now here in Colorado, we're rewriting federal law for how we define harassment. And that's really what this POWER Act is allowing us to remove severe and pervasive out of the requirements to define harassment. And there's certain parameters that we've written the policy so that other elements have to be met. It has to be in pictorial or it has to be in verbal form. There's all these different levels of the policy that have been changed, but really it's to rewrite, to remove the title or the word severe and pervasive out of the context. So anytime you have federal and state law, whatever one has the better benefit of the employee is the one that you go with. And so in this case, Colorado says that there's now a lower threshold for what's determined as harassment. And so that's the rewrite on this policy. Okay, any questions? The next one is the compensation and benefits. So you've always offered medical, dental, vision, life insurance, but we've never had this little section at the top of the heading that says we offer that stuff. And so Mary and I had discovered that doing a review of it, and we just added a little paragraph saying that we do provide medical, dental, vision. There's no concern. There was nothing not compliant with having it written down before. But as we're doing orientations, it's just a good talking point for me to touch on a policy that reminds them of the benefits that they're provided. We also just made it an adjustments to pay movement. We just moved the section to a different place in the handbook, so it was a better flow. So we just wanted to let you know about those things. We also have the PTO policy. We've made a couple of different changes to this. The first one is the Healthy Family Workplace Act. So in Colorado, there is required sick leave under the Healthy Family Workplace Act. Because you offer so much PTO to the employees here at the town, you don't have to provide separate sick leave for them. However, we do have to provide it for our temporary employees. So we have had a standalone policy that we developed that has the Healthy Family Sick Leave provisions on it. We also had to add them to the PTO policy. Since we tell your employees we provide you enough paid time off and it's going to cover your sick leave, we have to cite what on there is also covered under the Healthy Family. So the additional provisions that they came out with about a month ago was that it's also going to include bereavement, and it also is going to include coverage for, and this is only for the sick leave, but we listed in PTO, but due to inclement weather, power or heat or water outage, anything really impacting that employee from being able to come in because there's something that's not their responsibility. So those provisions were added under the sick leave. So temporary employees will be able to use any of those bulleted provisions for their sick leave. We tell your employees we've already offered you enough paid time off and we're compliant. So if you have any of those bulleted provisions that you need to be out for, you're going to use your paid time off. Okay.
Elaine,
Yes.
I have a question. So bereavement after death of a family member. We don't have anything for death of a pet. And I know that sounds weird, but people honestly grieve more for the loss of a pet that is in their day-to-day life all the time, more than they will grieve for, say, a sister who lives 5,000 miles away in another state.
Trish, Trustee Harris, I could not agree with you more.
Like, is there any way we could add pet bereavement? I know that's weird, but
I will be happy to make the recommendation. So how I would like this to be, and thank you, is to get the feedback. We are going to put it on consent agenda. If for any reason there is a discussion point or things that we will treat differently, maybe we push it to another meeting, but I definitely would like feedback like that. It isn't something, I will speak to the fact it isn't something that's being done elsewhere. Now, on a personal side, as a person who just put her own dog down after 14 and a half years, and it was about a month and a half ago, very hard.
Yeah.
It isn't being done on a lot of my other clients' side. I'm happy to look into it. But it is something that if the board would want us to move forward with that, or how would this work? Do you want to have a discussion point around it? Just look into? Okay. I thought you had something you wanted to, but okay. It looked like you wanted to have some input on this. So I will talk to Helen, to Marcus, and to Kathy, who's helped us with the handbook, and make the recommendation. I'll also do some research on what other companies or municipalities might be offering that.
Okay. I mean, doesn't mean we can't be a leader on something. We often are.
Okay. Absolutely. Thank you. And that is definitely any kind of feedback like that on these policies. So then the other parts to the PTO updates, so we defined part-time accrual in PTO. We had just never listed that as a part-time employee. It was a practice we had. We gave them part-time accrual, but we just wanted to write it down so they know they still are accruing based on their part-time hours. And then we also adjusted a little bit with the how the accrual is done with the healthy family for temporary employees. I talked about that. And we just list the very last sentence on there. Hadn't been there before. Temporary employees are not eligible for PTO, but accrue according to the Healthy Family Workplace Act. And then we also added 2 additional requirements for the PTO donation. We required in the very first sentence that it's determined by human resources if it's a catastrophic incident. All this does is as you're getting bigger, we have different department heads and different levels and all of this. This puts it on HR to determine what is catastrophic. So one person in one department isn't having something provided as a donation that another person was told no. There's not been a concern, but we just like the fluency as you get bigger of having HR being the person who's making those determinations. And then we also added the second bullet point that to be eligible for PTO, the employee must be employed with the town for at least 90 days or 520 hours. Now, this is just so you don't have somebody coming right in and then there's the need and really the PTO donations, because it's coming from other town employees and it's the employees rallying around each other. I just like to have a glimpse of the employee for the first 90 days. And so that's where I put that in there. And holiday changes. So we also defined part-time for holiday pay for the same reason we did under PTO. It just wasn't ever written down. So now we just let you know that if you're a part-time employee, you accrue that holiday pay based on your prorated amount. So if you work 3/4 of the time, you're going to get 6 hours of that 8-hour holiday pay. And then we also added Juneteenth. So this is with your approval because it's on consent agenda in the next meeting. But I'm recommending that you add Juneteenth. It's a very important holiday, I think, for many. And you still have the floating holiday option. So we do have people here that have already asked about other religious practices or religious holidays. And we do offer the floating holiday for them. If they don't want to use Juneteenth or Veterans Day, they're welcome to use a different day as that floating holiday. But with your approval, we would be adding Juneteenth in. So that would increase it by 1 extra day for the holidays. And then adding the provisions under the active duty training. So we do have somebody who's been active military duty, and all we added into this is making sure that the military orders are presented to HR. That's actually a requirement of the military orders and you, Sarah. And so we just added that language so it tells the employee to bring those to us. And our motor vehicle policy, we used to have part of the take-home policy where we would allow an authorized rider in there. But ultimately, that authorized rider would have to sign a waiver that says they can't sue the town if they're injured. And you can't do that. You can't have anybody sign a waiver. If they're riding in your vehicle, there's the potential for a liability. And so we removed and adjusted some of that language to get rid of a waiver that shouldn't be in practice. It should be, if a waiver is in practice, it should be signed by your employee and not a rider of the employee. And so we just revised that policy to put that so that we remove that practice. And then some of the initiatives that I'll be working on through the next year are going to be, first of all, the town manager review coming up. I'm going to be emailing those forms to you. I'll be having Marcus take a look at them this week, and then we'll be getting them out to you maybe this week, but definitely by the beginning of next week. Those will be due throughout sometime in November, and then I will get those scores tabulated. My team will, and then we're going to do the review for Helen on November 27th. And then we also are going to be doing a department heads retreat again in 2024. We had done one in 2023 at the beginning, about March, I think. And it was just a really great place for everybody to talk about communication. How do we align department strategies? Just really putting everybody on the same page and making sure we're strategically aligned. And then that leads to the last initiative where I'm still working on the strategic plan for the town. Been a couple of things that have pulled me away, but I'm going to get back on that so that for 2024, we actually have an alignment of all the different departments. How do they align with your overall plan? And then ultimately, how is HR involved in being able to meet those initiatives, keeping departments on task, all of those kind of things as well? Because the strategic plan is very much a job of HR to keep in place and to check in with departments once we put it there. So any questions or feedback on the handbook?
I have a question. Can you go back to the slide that has all the PTO on it when Trustee Harris was bringing it up? And my question is, who determines the amount of time on the PTO? That one right there.
You mean as far as what we're provided, the employees?
Right.
So it's a benefit review. So part of it was when we didn't have Lori Graves look directly into all the benefits provided, but we did have her assess as a whole, what do you offer for those things in addition to salary and stuff? When she had looked at just comparable of all the things, you're very comparable with other municipalities your size. And I think that's the best way that you can look at it. I didn't put the PTO rates up there, the boxes. I guess I should have. We didn't increase them, but the employees earn 11.33 hours in a first month when they work here. And officers are at 18 point, I know it's so close, but 18.6, I believe. And so 11.33 hours in a month. You're equating, I mean, that does start to add up. You're very comparable, and I'm happy to do a deeper dive and actually look, but I know we did look at this at the beginning of the year. We actually had our former HR and finance clerk just do a pool of other municipalities, particularly your size, but especially your area, what they were doing for PTO and benefits, and you are still comparable.
Okay, thank you. I was just going back to her question about pet as a family member. Well, who determines how long bereavement is?
Well, what I would actually, so bereavement is 1 day in your policy. And because we allow paid time off to be then supplemented for any additional time off, and you do have rich PTO policies, we do 1 day of bereavement. What my recommendation to trustees Harris request would be that we would allow a pet to be included in the definition of bereavement.
Okay.
And I don't know how everybody will feel. I don't even know legality wise. I will check, but with that recommendation, that's where I would recommend putting it in, is actually in the bereavement policy as an additional provision of coverage.
Okay.
Okay.
I just didn't know what the policy was or how long these actual hours are affiliated with each of the bullets, if that question makes sense. So,
well, and the bullets here, so it's with the Healthy Family Workplace Act, the state is telling us these bulleted items, you have to give your employees 48 hours every year if they work full time. And with this, we say we give way more than that. So under this, what we're really just citing is here's the policy for Healthy Family Workplace Act. And ultimately, you can take time off for anything, including those bulleted lists, but ultimately you can take time off for anything. And if it's approved by your supervisor.
okay, good. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Sure. Herman?
Same subject line. I just need some clarification of the wording.
Yes.
If I look at that bereavement thing, it says bereavement, comma, or to assist with financial or legal needs after death of a family member. What does that mean?
So it was also, all those provisions were written directly by the state of Colorado under the Healthy Family Workplace Act. And with that, it truly is, if somebody were to come in and say, I need to be out, there's some proof around it. So hypothetically, let's use one of your temporary employees, because it's hard to talk about this policy as it relates to PTO, because really all we're doing is saying we're legally compliant with the Healthy Family, we're writing it down, but go use your PTO if you need these things off. But for a temporary employee where this would come in, hypothetically, one of your crossing guards has a loss in their family. They've been here a long time and they have let's say they have 48 hours of PT or of Healthy Family Workplace sick leave. That's all they get. It needs to be used for one of these provisions, and it happens to be bereavement. So they would notify Chief Newbanks as the supervisor, and then he would notify us. I would reach out to that employee and I would say, you do have hours under bereavement. You have up to this many hours. You can use it for that. But if they were to need to be out for bereavement, there's no definition of how long on there. It doesn't say 3 days of bereavement. They could use all 48 hours for bereavement, financial needs, all of it.
Okay,
The state just added that in as a further
I need some
definition.
clarification on.
Okay.
I get the bereavement thing.
Yeah.
Assist with financial or legal needs.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
It would be,
Is the town responsible to help them for financial and legal need
oh,
problems?
no, just to provide the time off for them to go handle their financial or legal needs.
Okay, so if
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
matter of just a time off, I'm fine with that.
correct.
Just not the way I read it.
Correct. It is just for the time off as it relates
That's
to
not
you
the way
could use it
it's
for that.
Spelled out. It's spelled out to me. It spells out like we're going to provide financial and legal help if you need it.
It definitely does. And I really hope the state of Colorado will rewrite those words a little bit. It's not the clearest policy. It was something that was put in place. They've changed it a few times. They actually threw those 2 extra provisions on us about a month and a half ago, just out of the blue.
Okay.
And not much notice. And so I think they'll probably streamline some of this eventually, but how I would read that is you can have time off for bereavement or time off to go care for any financial needs, doing things that wrap up with that.
I understand that.
Okay.
It's just a wordplay.
It was a word. Yeah.
Thank you.
Chris?
Are we confident that we don't have to provide 48 hours additional to, we are, okay.
Correct. So how it reads is that if we're providing at least that, we can write a policy that says you're provided enough sick leave. You got to go use your PTO if you need any of those provisions.
But can you use PTO for anything?
Paid time off is for anything. Sick.
Does it have to be called bereavement in order to fit under this category?
No, so again, it goes back to those provisions are just defined in the Colorado's Healthy Family Workplace Act. So I actually have cut and paste the act up there. And so that's not our language in there. We're saying, here's what the act says. We've given you enough time off to cover more than that. So if you have anything that you need time off for those provisions, you use your PTO.
David, do you have any questions or comments for Elaine? Trustee
No, I
Adams?
do not, Mayor.
Okay. Oh.
Everything was covered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to it on their next meeting. All right, our next informational item will be about the Weld County planning referral by our planner, Mr. Estrada Clark. Sir, come join us. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. It's nice to be here. So hello everyone. I hope you're having a great evening. So recently we got a referral from Weld County. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. We got a referral from Weld County about a property that's located at 17820 East Interstate 25 Frontage Road. Okay, cool. Awesome. So we received a notice of inquiry from the planners at Weld County about annexing a property on the southeast corner of I-25 and Weld County Road 38. The applicant in question wants to rezone this property to be able to allow for outdoor storage along with RVs and boats. However, this property is adjacent to the town of Mead on 3 sides, and it's almost an enclave. So here's a map of it. The property in question is highlighted in that bright yellow, right underneath the label of County Road 38. So as you can see, it's pretty much an enclave. It's right next to town, at least on 2 of its sides. So when it comes to the comprehensive plan for the town of Mead, the location and everything else associated with it in terms of proposed use is not consistent with our comprehensive plan, nor is it in congruence with the future land use map designations. On the town's future land use map, this property would be potentially zoned as regional commercial. So that means things like shopping plazas, shopping malls, things that really attract a regional crowd to the town of Mead. It's also designated as a secondary community gateway. So this is an opportunity for us to really activate the area and make sure we're getting really nice uses that not only affect the economy of Mead, but also affect the interpretation that visitors have as they come into our community. So it's sort of a tough map to see, but the property that's in that bright green is the property in question. And as you can see, it would be designated as regional commercial. And all around it is a heavy use of commercial mixed use, regional commercial, and residential mixed use. So nothing that would be in line with a storage business. So along with that, we also have an ordinance on storage businesses. In 2018, the Board of Trustees passed this ordinance, and a part of this ordinance states that within 3 miles of an already existing storage business in the town of Mead, a new storage business will not be allowed to be established. So if this property were already in the town of Mead, we would not allow this use because there are a few storage businesses nearby. we believe as town staff that going to the county to rezone and for the purpose of storage would be a way to bypass and circumvent our code, which not good. So Weld County, they also have language within their comprehensive plan that sort of furthers our cause. One of the major motivating factors for this letter that we have already drafted, it should be in your packets. One of the motivating factors for writing this letter is that the comprehensive plan for Weld County includes language about annexation of properties that are within a quarter mile of a existing municipality if they want to come in for a rezoning or any sort of urban scale development. That's defined very broadly. But basically anything that isn't agricultural use would trigger this process of the county reaching out to us and seeing, do we want to annex this? Of course, in that process, the person who is applying for the land development also has to agree. So in this case, they don't want to annex. So in that case, we want to go along with the Weld County Comprehensive Plan language that states that there also needs to be a harmonious development pattern with surrounding land uses, meaning that since everything around it would not be amenable to storage, we're hoping that the county will hear us out and hopefully deny any development applications for the purpose of storage. So as you can see here is a map from the Weld County Comprehensive Plan. That bright green arrow points to a little smidgen of red, and that's where that property is located. That red is a buffer that is a quarter mile from a municipal boundary. And within their comprehensive plan map, that red is designated as annexation. So again, they're very strongly encouraging the act of annexation, and hopefully that will really allow us to further our cause in trying to avoid storage in this area. So staff action and conclusion. Let me take a look at my notes. So due to the lack of congruity with both the town of Mead's comprehensive plan and Weld County's comprehensive plan, we as town staff have drafted a letter to the county to pursue the following goals. We want to strongly encourage annexation and harmonious land uses, just to reiterate their goals from their own comprehensive plan. We also would like to open a line of communication with the county. So if anything happens in terms of a meeting or a hearing regarding any of these development applications, we want them to reach out to us to make us in the know-how so that we can either attend these meetings and make our voices known. Another goal of writing this letter is to recommend to the county that they deny any development application in regards to this property when it comes to storage uses. This property is located on a strategic gateway to our community, and the land needs to be developed with care. As I mentioned previously, it's an opportunity to really activate this gateway to our community and to allow for something that would really bolster our economy, provide jobs, and also just look nice for people who are coming through to town. So overall, town staff is looking for support from the Board of Trustees, and we're seeking their direction and whether or not to send out our drafted letter to the county on the Board of Trustees' behalf. And that's all I have for that. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Questions, comments? Tricia?
So this is directly north of Go Home Port, correct?
Yes,
Is it Go Home Port wanting to expand?
it is not.
It is not. It's a completely separate developer. Okay.
Yes.
But Go Home Port was allowed, they're in the county. How come they were allowed to develop in the county without?
So
So they used to be this little bitty storage facility that just was like a field. And they went to the county and they were allowed to expand their special use on that property. We did object to it. However, they already had their foot in the door when they did that project.
Okay.
So what they did was turn it into what you see today,
Uh-huh.
which is living proof of why we need to fight back on these things. Because we will have nothing but all that eastern part of I-25 will be one big boat and RV storage.
Okay,
So,
I was just curious how they
yeah,
got theirs.
they got it
approved.
because it was an expansion of it. And there's like some special rule that if you want to expand your special use and it's still the same theme that you're allowed to do.
And they've
it.
had that for a long time, I take it.
Yes,
Had that
but it
use for a
was
long time.
very small and
Uh-huh.
and you barely knew it was there. And then.
Right, I didn't know it was storage.
Well, and they worked
Okay.
on that and got, so that's why it's different. They already had the
Okay.
use. This one, they want to start from scratch.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was what I was just trying to understand is how that played into it. But no, I definitely don't want more storage there. So I'm all for sending the letter.
Perfect. Thank you.
Questions or comments? Anything? David, do you have any questions or comments? Trustee
No, I
Adams?
do not.
I do have one.
Yes.
Was it explained to the potential developer or whoever was coming in to talk to you about High Plains Boulevard, that they will not have any access to that on the frontage road?
I don't believe it's been discussed with the applicant yet. Of course, if they move forward with a more formal application, as of right now, they've only done a pre-application. But if they do move forward with a more formal application, that will definitely be in our comments because access is definitely an issue with High Plains coming in.
Right, because I mean, I'm looking at the map and I don't know if maybe Erica can help us out with, because it is in the crossroads of 38 and 9.5, but it's on the eastern side of it and you have to go through another property to get to it.
Right.
It's access too. So I would just didn't know if that was a point for the developer, if your staff had brought it up to them or not. But that's what I'm pointing out to tonight. If it does go forward or some other questions or it's in for a hearing, that would be a point to bring up, is the access to that property would have to go through. I'm not sure who it is, but I'm all for moving forward with the letter. So I'm a thumbs up for the letter.
I'm all for moving forward.
If it helps just for a little bit of background and please correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, as a meeting with Town of Mead staff
Mhm.
by this party,
Right.
there's only been a pre-application meeting with Weld County. So it's, other than the minutes of the meeting that were, provided to the town staff for review, not really sure what was all said or might have come up at that pre-application meeting with the county. Kind of hard. I don't remember there being any specific reference in those meeting minutes to the 9.5 issue, but it's a good question. And it's something that definitely, if this progresses because right now, thankfully, Weld County has taken the position that this is something, at least on a staff level, that they would not support. So if they continue to force this property owner in the direction of approaching Mead for annexation, and that's something that can definitely be on the table if and when they decide to come sit down with town staff.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to point that out.
I have a quick.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Herman.
Just a quick question, and I think you mentioned, I just want to make sure I heard it right. The applicant is clearly not interested in annexing into Mead.
So the applicant had maybe a few months ago called town staff just with a very simple, can I do storage here? And we said no, and it was basically said and done. And then out of nowhere, we got this referral from Weld County.
Okay, so nobody's really asked the applicant yet if they are willing to annex into Mead?
I believe Weld County staff has brought that up with the applicant based off of what they're trying to accomplish. I believe that they would not want to annex.
Okay.
So Kyle and Marcus, do we need to have a motion for me to sign this letter tonight?
Support. I think generally support, but if I think a motion for purposes of the meeting minutes is fine too.
Okay. I would like to have a motion just to make sure it's in public
make it.
record.
Because I do have one thing CDOT should be checked in with too, because that's right where potentially we want to put on and off ramp for 38.
Mm.
We
Yeah.
have Turian's doing that study. They'll lose all form of access based on where that property is.
So if I could, I did meet with a member of the staff, their public works director last week for the county, and she brought up, which is very important, we're undertaking this 1601 process to look at an interchange. That interchange, part of our assumptions are a use on this property and all the properties, as Kyle showed us, the way they're going to develop. So when you develop, whether or not an interchange is needed, it depends on the intensity of the develop around the land. So she felt like that was just as important as the 9.5 discussion. And we will bring it back. We brought this to you all, and we get these referrals fairly often from the county. And typically, either they're in the middle of nowhere that we'll just say, we either have no comment, or we support it, or we would like it annexed. Well, the reason why we brought this one is because it's very important that the board understand that, and to make sure staff's in alignment with the board's vision for what goes on right next to I-25. The past boards have not wanted to see the proliferation of this type of development. And assuming you still feel that way, we're going to keep leaning in hard against these, including we may ask our mayor or some of our trustees to attend a board meeting at the county to impress upon them the importance of these properties should develop within towns, whether it's Firestone, whether it's Johnstown, or the town of Mead. The local jurisdiction is the one that provides the law enforcement. It provides the culture of the underlying area. So we feel very strongly about this. And Elizabeth at the county just spoke to me about it and said, if we feel that way, we probably should let our feelings know. So this letter is a first step, but there may be more discussions to be had.
Chris, would you like to make that motion?
Is there any particular wording I need, Marcus, or?
And just, you're also suggesting that CDOT has to be added as a CC.
Probably, because I-25 is a big deal for them, and that's the next major section. And if we start putting things in that's going to cause them problems, they're going to show up on our doorstep and be angry. That's not anything we want.
I think it would just be a motion to authorize execute the October 30th letter to the Weld County Planning Services as amended. And then we can, prior to execution on the staff side, we'll make sure that we CC the regional director of CDOT as an added party that's identified there.
Okay.
I'd also like to add the commissioners as CC too. The Weld County Commissioners.
Yes.
Okay. So I make a motion as for Mayor Whitlow to sign the letter in referral to the Weld County Commission as is, with whatever Marcus said, because I don't remember all of that.
Thank you very much. All right. Roll call, please, Mary.
Trustee Bradhead,
Yes.
trustee Harris,
Yes.
trustee Parr,
Yes.
trustee Shranz.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright.
Yes.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you very much, Kyle. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And
for
your
having
passion
me.
for our town. So thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. All right, next is our cleanup days. This will be presented by our Public Information Officer, Community Engagement Director, Miss Lorelei Nelson. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you. So I briefly want to touch on community days and how we see the future of this event going. So as you know, we offer this currently spring and fall. Resident households are allowed one load of household trash and unlimited yard waste at no cost. On our website and around the cleanup day site, we have signage for lists of unapproved items. This is generally Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon. Again, usually in May and October, and Public Works staff facilitates these events. Our annual labor costs Our annual cost, the labor is about 15,000 per year. Equipment is about 26,000 per year, and then our dumpster services is about 20,000 a year. So a little over 61,000 to hold both of these events. Some things that have come up in discussions with community engagement and public works and some concerns is a significant uptick in commercial usage for our cleanup days. The idea is this is supposed to be for our residents, households that are using these events to get rid of their unwanted items. And so the commercial usage has been a concern. Every year we kind of battle the unapproved items, people trying to sneak in things they shouldn't. And one of the things that was concerning this year was the amount of excessive trips that we saw with residents coming in more than they should have been, specifically for their household trash. Weather was a particular concern this year. We were one rainy day from canceling both of these, both in May and October. And it's a little bit different. You know, cancellations happen with weather related events. When you cancel concert in a park, it's disappointing. However, when you cancel an event like this, residents, people that are using this, they have possibly rented a trailer or they've borrowed a truck and they've started loading up their stuff. So canceling is a little bit more detrimental to them. And another big issue is we are on the cusp of environmental permitting. And specifically, this is related to our yard waste. So our yard waste is out there, it's on the ground for weeks or months, rain, snow, whatever, water comes down from the sky, washes the pesticides, herbicides into the water stream and leaching it into the ground. So we are right on the edge of having to get permitting for this. And what that means is stricter regulations on what we could take. And the way we see this happening is we wouldn't be able to take yard waste because of the control measures, the record keeping, the personnel training on these environmental issues would be not practical for us to implement. So these are kind of all things that we've been talking about. And generally, we want to be a good steward to the environment. We don't want to leave it to the permitting. We should be thinking about these things in general when we have our yard waste out there. Resident concerns, these are things that come up quite frequently every May and October. We're dealing with people that are either wanting or calling in to dump off soil. Concrete is a big one. Mattresses and box springs. Those are often complaints from our residents that we're getting on social media or email or phone call that we won't take these things. Another big one is our limited hours of operation. We have it Friday from 8 to 4 and Saturday half a day. So that's 12 hours. 12 hours, 2 times a year that residents can come in and unload their stuff. And that doesn't work for a lot of people that when they're working a full-time job and they're working between the hours of 8 to 4. And so just so you know, those are kind of the things that have been going on, the issues that we've been discussing the last few years. So what we're proposing is a transition to Front Range landfill. They are better equipped to handle waste management than we are. Our community is growing. Our trash loads are growing. And so this is kind of the next step where we see this really being able to flourish. Our surrounding communities, most of them use Front Range landfill. Frederick, Dacono, and Longmont all do a food drive. So they ask their residents to bring in a canned food. Front Range landfill coordinates that with the town, and they will drop off all that food that our residents bring in to the food bank of our choice. They also accept more items. So those things that I talked about, the complaints we get from residents, which is soil, concrete, mattresses, box springs, Front Range landfill will take all of that. They have extended time frame and hours. They're Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturdays 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Because they work with other municipalities, they're very capable of handling a voucher system or verification system to make sure that it's our households that are going in and using that, using our cleanup days. Generally, they do a 1 load, 1 ton limit. And then if a resident goes over or tries to bring in an additional load, they have a tracking system. And for the resident to be able to do that, they would charge that resident separately. Dacono, their estimated costs for running their program, which is a similar size as Mead, is about $25,000 a year. They do it once per year and they open it up for the entire month. There's quite a few communities that do once a year for the entire month of, say, October. Residents can pick and choose their day and time that works best for them and then make their one trip. There are a couple other municipalities that do it twice a year and maybe for only 2 weeks. And that's all I have for you. A lot of information.
We used to do food drives in every trash day. I mean, so that's not new to Mead because we used to stand out there and collect food or cash for our food banks. But I know that Frederick and Firestone and Dacono do the voucher system. So I'll open it up to questions and comments. Herman.
We also,
Chris, excuse me. Herman.
we also used to mail out a card to each resident so that they had to show to get in to dump, which took care of the commercial usage issue.
Yes, and that was prior to my arrival in Mead, but from what I understand, the issues with that was duplication of those cards. And it is hard for our public works crew who's out there trying to figure out what's allowed and what bin to put it in to also have to monitor and check off cards. They're a small crew, we're a small town, and Front Range is just more capable of handling that kind of thing. Public Works does a really good job with our public, much like our events. Like we want to be the face of the community and be positive and upbeat. And when we're being the trash police, it's not pretty.
Okay. And this is maybe just a dumb question, but where is Front Range landfill?
It's in Erie on County Road 5.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Now, Deb.
Okay, my son, okay, he took some stuff up to Fort Collins to landfill there. And it cost like $25 a mattress, just one piece of the mattress. Are they charging for that even though we're taking just one load?
They don't charge per trash item. It's they would charge the town per load. And it's a 1 load, 1 ton limit.
Okay.
Go ahead, Trish.
I just want to make sure I understand. So it's not that they're going to bring anything here to be filled up. It's that we would now have to drive to Erie to drop anything off.
That would be correct.
Okay. And what about, so they have a separation of yard waste and other waste still? Like, would all of that still be acceptable? They do yard waste separately?
They do yard waste. They do everything that we do with the addition of more items. So they do take yard waste, they take soil. The clarification with yard waste is they want it bagged, so they know that it's yard waste.
Well, what about branches? How do you do tree branches if you have to bag them?
Well, not branches, but yard waste like weeds and soil and bushes and things like that.
Okay.
Only once a year?
Well, I mean, that's really up to us. It's up to you.
Okay. The proposal is for once a year for 4 weeks?
That is one option, or we could do twice a year for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Is that about the same cost?
Yes, because it's going to be per load, per resident. So it's basically going to be the amount of people that utilize this.
You're gonna have 500, potentially, let's say you have 500 loads in May and 500 loads in October. If you only did October, you don't necessarily get 1,000 loads. You may only
That's
get
correct.
500-600. So there is a cost.
Yes.
Potential cost difference. However, most people I talk to like the fact that they have 2 a year, because May, there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done to get ready for spring. And then October, you want to get rid of all that stuff to get ready
Yeah.
for winter. So the idea of having it twice a year, I think is attractive. And I would support 2 weeks twice a year versus 4 weeks once a year. I still think 2 weeks gives people ample time to get there
Mhm.
to do what they need to do. And if the cost is similar, I would suggest that.
Oh, I agree with the 2 times a year. We're going to have a bit of backlash on this because we have been the face of the cleanliness of, so it'll be interesting to find out how people take this, and hopefully we won't have couches on the side of the road. So I'm for 2 times a year. It'll benefit a lot of people. I'm not sure it's going to be, we've done this for so long, and we're going to, it'll be a good, I think it's a good environmental. I think we can say it that way versus, we don't want our public works in the face of meanness, but it's a convenience to have it in our own town. I get that.
Mhm.
And it's not, I don't think it's about the money. I think it's more of the convenience for people. So that's my thoughts and my comments about it. David, do you have any comments or questions about this? Okay.
I was just gonna add to that. I'm in agreement with the 2 times a year for 2 weeks. That's more than ample than what we've been able to provide ourselves with just, 12 hours over 2 days. And if somebody's gone on a vacation or some emergency comes up, they miss it and they're out. This provides a lot more benefit. And as was stated, with the opportunity to have more items that they will take versus what we can do, I say we try it. I mean, if it fails miserably, we can always change back down the road. But I think there's a lot more benefit to this than not.
Thanks, David. Chris.
I have one question, and that is, if I didn't want to pack everything in my truck and take it to Erie, are we going to allow somebody to come and collect from multiple people and take that truck to Erie and still fit underneath the dump? It's just something to talk about. Well, it would be. I mean, I'm just considering, somebody rents a truck and they drive around and pick up all the stuff and drive it. That would be considered one load, but whose load would it be if the truck is not a Mead resident?
The verification or the voucher, depending on how you want to do it, is based on household. So whoever pulls that verification or voucher, so if it was you that pulled it, that would be your load, but you were welcome to go gather up everybody else's stuff.
For a fee.
You were stupid.
Yeah.
David, do you have a question? Another one? David, your hand is up.
Yep, it is. I was just gonna say, in regards to that, as long as it doesn't exceed the 1 ton limit, you can pick up 10 people's trash. I don't think that matters. If it exceeds the 1 ton limit and there's an additional fee, then that's up to that individual to probably collect money from all the people that he was picking up from.
Yeah, thank you very much. How will we do the vouchers? By mail?
We have toyed with the idea of actually doing it on Civic Rec, because it's similar to like a facility rental. You can print out a permit that they would then hand over to Front Range, and then we could also track that in an Excel spreadsheet and give that to Front Range so they'd be able to cross-check. So that's one option. Having that at town hall, it'd be nice because you could also do it online, but you could also come here and in one system be able to track all of it. So that's the that's what we've been discussing.
Okay.
But there's multiple ways we could do it. I do think you're right. It's going to be an adjustment for the public. There's always concern when there's change, but I do think that this is better for the town and for the residents, in just widening that time frame and being able to get more people to unload their stuff. Yes, and a food drive. Yeah. Yeah.
We're just not all of a sudden.
Right.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. I really would make sure that we have an opportunity for somebody that doesn't have a computer to come in and get a voucher. Then we have a lot of seniors that don't have the capability of printing, like my parents.
Yeah, and for example, our seniors now go through Civic Rec, but they just come in here and we do it all
Okay.
through that program. It's just they come in person and we do it for them.
Okay. Thanks, Lorelai. Any other questions for? Okay, thanks. Let's do it.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you, staff, for doing all the informational items and giving us the answers that we asked for the questions. Next is our proclamations for this evening. And then first one is Native American Heritage Month. I've asked Trustee Broadhead to read the proclamation.
Okay. Oh. National American Heritage Month, November 2023. Whereas the history and culture of our great nation have been significantly influenced Native American and Indigenous people, and whereas the contributions of Native Americans have enhanced the freedom, prosperity, and greatness of America today, and whereas their customs and traditions are respected and celebrated as part of a rich legacy throughout the United States, and whereas in 1990, President George H.W. Bush approved a joint resolution designating November 1990 National American Indian Heritage Month. Similar proclamations under variants on the names include Native American Heritage Month and National American Indian and Alaska Native Heritage Month have been issued each year since 1994. And whereas in honor of Native American Heritage Month, statewide celebrations as well as numerous cultural, artistic, educational, and historical activities have been planned, and now therefore Colleen Whitlow, Mayor of the Town of Mead, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2023 as Native American Heritage Month, given under her hand and seal of the Town of Mead, Colorado, on this 30th day of October 2023.
Thanks, Deb. Is there a motion to approve the signing of this proclamation?
A motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Trustee Broadhead,
Yes.
Trustee Schran,
Yes.
Trustee Parr,
Yes.
Trustee Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Second proclamation is the Law Enforcement Records Personnel Week, and I've asked Trustee Parr to read the proclamation.
Law Enforcement Records Personnel Week, November 6th through November 10th, 2023. Whereas dedicated law enforcement records personnel serve the citizens of Colorado to provide them with vital services, and whereas the law enforcement records personnel are crucial to assisting law enforcement agencies identify, pursue, and capture and process suspects, and whereas these professionals continually use their expertise and experience in the maintaining of criminal justice statistics and improving apprehension strategies, and whereas the law enforcement records personnel serving the town of Mead have exhibited professionalism, efficiency, and compassion during the performance of the official duties in the past year, and whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff law enforcement records is material influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform, and whereas the state of Colorado has designated the second week in November 2023 to recognize law enforcement records personnel. Now, therefore, Colleen Whitlow, Mayor of the Town of Mead, does hereby proclaim November 6th through November 10th, 2023 as Law Enforcement Records Personnel Week for the vital services they perform, given under her hand and seal of the Town of Mead, Colorado, on this 30th day of October, 2023.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a motion to approve the signing of this proclamation?
I'll move to sign the proclamation.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Mary.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
trustee Harris,
Yes.
trustee Broadhead,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
trustee Shranz,
Yes.
trustee Parr.
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you for reading both of the proclamations tonight. We'll move on to our first public comment of the evening. The board welcomes public comment for any item, whether it is on the agenda or not. The board will listen to your comments and take them into consideration. If you desire a conversation, please email the board or town manager or attend the monthly coffee with the mayor. If you wish to speak during this public comment period, please adhere to the town's general guidelines. Please start by stating your full name and address for the record. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the Board of Trustees. If you're representing a group, you will have 5 minutes. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to speak to the board? Seeing none, is there anybody with us virtually that would like to address the Board of Trustees tonight? All right, well, moving on to our consent agenda. The consent agenda contains items which are considered routine and are approved with one motion and vote. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
second,
All right, roll call, please, Mary.
Trustee Broadhead,
yes,
trustee Harris,
Yes.
trustee Parr,
Yes.
trustee Shranz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
trustee Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, staff, for putting the consent agenda together tonight for us. Move on to the second public comment of the evening. We have no further general business tonight. So this, is there anyone here in the room? I'll go second. Go again. Anybody with us virtually? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to elected official reports. Any of the town trustees would like to bring up anything tonight? Arvin?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Mhm.
October 13th, I had the opportunity to represent us on a CML policy meeting. So I just wanted to give a little bit of update to some of the stuff that I got out of that meeting. And I'm gonna tell you, this is an abbreviated version because there was a lot of stuff. They were talking very fast and I write very slow. So it's just, I'm gonna abbreviate a lot of stuff for you. The first thing they talked about was the Housing Bill 213 from last year that was defeated, but the conversation is not dead. So Senator Kirkmeyer and Zenringer are also bringing up some other things, and they're thinking in terms of incentive-based approaches for the housing stuff. So stay tuned. We'll see. I'm sure we'll see some stuff come out of the legislature in regards to that. The other interesting thing that came out was a proposal by Fort Collins. And it was a proposal to remove the requirement for police body cams for administrative police. So for example, and just as an example, if chief is in this room, there are other cameras already available. He doesn't need to have his body cam. So they're proposing that when the police are in an environment where the other devices are recording, they can eliminate the redundancy. And some of that makes sense to me, but there's a cost savings to the town and not having to have all the additional body cams. That was deferred to the December meeting. So the December meeting, I'm sure there'll be more discussion about that. There are a couple of things here about substance abuse that were passed. And again, I'm not going to have a lot of details about it, but there was 5 pieces of legislation. CML did support the legislation in regards to substance abuse policies. The next one was construction defects. Currently, when you have a home built or something, typically the contractor gives you 1 year, but it's a very loose warranty. So they're really coming in and trying to tighten up that warranty so that the developer has more responsibility in what they need to do. They can't get out of. That wasn't us, that was you, or it wasn't us, it was the plumber. So they're tightening up those. We'll see some legislation in regards to that. The right to remedy, which allows resolution without liability. enforcement is an issue to do that, to enforce that. So there are issues with statewide oversight. This should be more at the local level than at the state level. That was tabled until a bill is published to a later date. So that was not something that's on the table yet, but we'll get there. Some issues on taxes, sales and use tax forces. There are 5 bills that are going to be presented. And the CML at this point is opposed as amendable kinds of bills. Because it's, I think, trying to remember the way they worded it, it was getting back into removing control from local municipalities and taking it to a state level. There's some issues with home rules now to collect, raising the thresholds to collect monies. CML concerned about the timing. There's an opposition by CML at this time in regards to home rule. They're doing some definition work for short-term rentals and lodging taxes. Recommend a resolution versus a mandate. That was opposed, but it did get passed. So I think it got past committee is what it did. Transportation, railroad safety. There's a lot of issues with some of the stuff that's been happening with rail accidents and things of that nature. So they're supporting legislation. Things like the average length of a train being a maximum of 8,500 feet. And there's when a train crosses a main thoroughfare and it stops in the middle of an intersection and keeps traffic backed up. Today, there's no time limit for that. They could sit there for half a day. They're proposing a 10-minute limit. But I kind of brought up and said, well, how are you going to enforce that? You know, who's going to be sitting there? It's okay. It's the 11th minute. Can I now do something about that? But there's some things that they still have to do. It's not intended for small municipal railroads. It's intended for the larger rail systems that, especially in Longmont, you always get caught with a train in Longmont, but there's some issues going on with railroad safety. Some statewide enterprises, there are additional fees for heavy passenger vehicles. Don't know what that is.
Buses?
Huh?
Buses? It's trucks, pickup trucks and SUVs.
Yeah, but they specify though that pickup trucks are not part of this. And I think they did that because there's such a huge population of pickup trucks in Colorado.
Their reasoning is that they're more dangerous to people or pedestrians when they are hit.
Yeah.
By a larger vehicle.
Yeah.
Than a smaller vehicle.
That's true.
And personally, I don't think it matters. If you hit somebody with a vehicle, it's probably not good for them at all.
At this point, the governor's office is going to oppose it though. So, but again, yeah, this is past committee, but it's not gotten any further than that. A program for ozone season grants. It's a statewide transit tax. CML's moving to support that, and I'm not sure what that means. But it has to do with local control into the substance abuse centers. That was the other thing that they had a lot of discussion about. They have substance abuse centers in Denver where addicts can go in. And there's 2 diametrically opposed versions of that. Some people are very much in support of that, and other people are very much opposed to that. There's not much in the middle. So there's a little bit of headbutting going on with whether they want to put more money into those centers or not. So I don't know where that's going to end up. And that's it. That's all that I got. There were 12 items that were discussed, and that was a synopsis of all that. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for going for me. So thank you. Any other reports from the trustees? David, do you have anything you want to bring up?
No, I do not, Mayor.
Okay. All right. This week is kind of busy besides tonight. We have the North I-25 Coalition coming up on Wednesday. along with Dr. Cog, work session, and thank you for bringing most of that stuff up that Herman brought up. The government staff, the governor's staff will be bringing up all of the legislation to the Dr. Cog board on Wednesday night. Christmas in the park is getting underway and we'll do some planning this week. And Helen and I are going to go meet the transportation commissioner, who is our new delegated from the governor. And Saturday is coffee with the mayor. The best coffee on Saturday. And that is all for me. I really do appreciate this delightful meeting tonight. I really do. It's been a treat to be here tonight with staff and for our residents, our community, and our board. So I just want to say thank you very much for all showing up. David, thank you very much for taking the time out of your work schedule to join us. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
trustee Parr,
Yes.
trustee Harris,
Yes.
trustee Broadhead,
Yes.
trustee Shrans,
Yes.
trustee Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you. The October 30th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees is now adjourned at 7:20. Thank you very much. Stay warm, everyone. Drive home carefully.